Good morning, everyone. It's great to see all of you. My name is Maria Lilly. I'm a member and the current president of the Greater Downey Association of Realtors, and I'm joined by my fellow directors who will be updating you on the CAR winter business meetings and board of director meetings we recently attended. I would like to call on the first director, Michael. Would you be able to start off with your reporting?
Sure. So I was in two committees. I was in federal and MLS. And in federal, it was just a lot of talk about what's going to happen in DC coming up. But one thing from federal that I thought was interesting, what do you think is the most important topic or subject line for realtors out there? They polled 1,700 realtors in California. The number one most important thing to realtors is homeowners insurance. And the second was property taxes. The third was reducing capital gains tax rate. The third was the next one was landlord rights, mortgage interest rates, and so on. Those were the number one most important things. That's all I have truly to report on federal, so I'll move on to MLS. In MLS, and I'm sure this is going to come up with others, in the MLS committee, it came up about digitally altered photos, the do's and don'ts. So when you put a picture in the MLS, if you are going to put an enhanced photo, you must also include the unenhanced photo as well. Lot of chatter about, oh, is this okay? Is that okay? Is it okay if I move a car out of a driveway? Well, yes, if it doesn't change the integrity of the photo, that's okay. Can't make the dirt in the backyard green grass. That's not a good idea because that is not what's truly there. One other topic in MLS that came up I thought was interesting was the idea, how many of you have had this? You close escrow and the buyer says to you, can you remove all the pictures? For our privacy, we don't feel comfortable. And many MLSs throughout California received that. So they had a little panel with some of the CEOs from different ones and how each one deals with it. Bottom line, they will not remove pictures after the closing. And truly, if you as a listing agent receive a call from the buyer's agent that says, hey, can you remove the pictures? You're really not doing justice for comparable purposes going forward, or an appraiser that needs to see what the condition was to figure out value going forward. But it's obviously done, not too big of a deal, but it is done. The only times that it is okay if they get a police officer, a judge, if all of a sudden on their desk they get a restraining order or something, a court order, subpoena, things like that, they will sometimes make exceptions, but they try not to. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Next, I'll call on Julio Medolo. Would you please report?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Julio Medolo. I'm the regional representative for risk management. A few things that came up. One is the ongoing subject of the BRBC, agents not properly completing the BRBC, submitting them as incomplete or not following the 90-day rule. It's important that agents remember to make sure that they follow the 90-day rule on the BRBCs. If they're going to go beyond the 90 days, the extension must be completed before the 90 days are up. Otherwise, the contract is void. The other thing is avids continue to be a topic of discussion. A lot of agents, if you're on the listing side, are submitting them at the end of the transaction. How that affects you is that the buyer on the other side could actually say that all the disclosures haven't been submitted and therefore contingencies are not required to be removed. And that could also bite you if you're the buyer's agent, where you're waiting till the last minute to submit your avid as well, because the buyer may say that, oh, he wasn't aware of something that you saw that they didn't see. So that was a big subject of discussion. And then also unlicensed TCs actually doing the job of the agent, not not the agent doing the job of the agent. So make sure that you guys are explaining these contracts yourselves to the clients, not the unlicensed TC. That was really the majority of the big ticket items, and that will conclude my report.
Thank you so much, Julio. Next, I'll call on Dan Alvarez.
Hi, good morning. There really wasn't much that we talked about. They only talked about that new system where you're going to be able to use your phone to write up offers, which is going to be a neat thing for the agents to use. And that's supposed to take effect sometime in February. I know they're taking signups right now for trial runs so you could test it and stuff like that. I've signed up for that already. I have not gotten a date yet. But that's really the only thing they talked about in my session.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank
Carrie
you.
Uba.
Great. Thank you. I had the pleasure of serving on the Taxation and Government Finance Committee, and there were two action items for this committee. The first one was a simple change to the name of the committee. They voted and it passed to change it from Taxation and Government Finance to Taxation and Government Funding Committee. And that will, from now on, be the new name of that committee. So that was pretty simple and easy. And the second item was the Howard Jarvis Association has a petition that's floating around. They're trying to get signatures. The cutoff date for signatures is February 25th. And if they get the required number of signatures, then they can put a ballot on the November 3rd, 2026 election, but pending signatures. So California Association of Realtors wants to delay whether they're going to oppose, support, or say it's not real estate related, make that decision at our next business meetings, because by then the signatures will be verified. We'll know what the bill is and what the bill number is going to be. And then CAR will make a decision on whether they're going to be going for it, opposing for it, or whichever way they decide to go. So if you haven't signed that petition and you're interested, the petition is floating around and it's out there, and it's a measure to help save Proposition 13. There were some local case law that went down a few years ago that changes the way in which a tax-related bill can get passed by a majority of voters, like 51% voters. And those bills usually, traditionally, constitutionally, are that they require a 2/3 vote. And so they're trying to bring that back so that those kind of tax bills will require 2/3 of voters to approve. That pretty much concludes my report. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Carrie. Next up, I would like to welcome our first-time CAR Director, Armando Martinez.
And a great morning to everyone. My name is Armando Martinez, and this year I was able to sit in the meeting for home ownership and housing. And I would say the two biggest focuses of our conversation, I'll start with the really big one, had to do with common interest developments. CAR, more than ever, is now getting involved in creating a task force to ensure some regulation in HOAs. We have all heard of the restrictions when it relates to balconies on HOAs or common area developments. And so CAR right now is recommending that legislation require balcony inspection repairs as part of their revision and legislation to get more involved. This didn't necessarily used to be a problem in HOAs, but we're finding that through the years, there have been many bad balconies construction-wise, and then many HOAs are imposing special assessments or even emergency assessments. And this really triggers a lot of homeowners to lose equity, and in some cases become upside down. They're going to owe more than the property's worth. So CAR is getting involved with that, and we're hoping that will bring some new regulatory practices to the way HOAs operate and their repairs. The second big hot item in our meeting had to do with a housing policy. Senator Wahab is seeking to continue her advocacy on increasing home ownership opportunities. And so they have asked CAR to get involved and introduce a SPAT bill that would, in essence, provide funding and advance additional direction to help support this measure. And this would make it where institutional investors defined as large Wall Street Fortune 500 companies would be restricted from purchasing 1 to 4 unit properties in bulk being 1,000 homes at a time. And the reason for this direction is to help give first-time homeowners the opportunity before we open it up to Wall Street investors. And that concludes my meeting.
Thank you so much, Armando. Now our also new director, first time CAR director, Nadim Mustafa.
Okay, sorry. So first of all, I said hello, everybody. Second of all, okay, yeah, so I did the MLS meeting, and what the biggest issues and things that they were talking about that is on the AI photos. And as you know, everybody right now is using AI for everything and modifying the photos. And one of the interesting things that we have to be careful of is what you do with the AI with the photos. So starting out, they said it was okay if you modify a photo as in the weather, something like on the outside that's not having to do nothing with the actual house itself. But we do have to be very, very careful when we modify something on the house. The example that they gave is it's very common for agents to remove trash cans or remove things from inside the house. And that's something that they did not want you to do, because when you remove a trash can, I guess AI is recreating what's behind that trash can, which there may have been a crack or something there before. And now, of course, you're manipulating it. Now, if you do use an AI photos, they either wanted the original photo also posted or some sort of a barcode link or whatever to the original photo. So that way you can go compare the original photo versus the manipulated one. So just the technology that's coming out to these days that we have to be careful with, especially with the agents.
Thank you, Nadim. Now we're going to go on to our first time CAR State Director, Jeff Worthy.
Good morning, all. I'm first-time director Jeff Worthy, and actually it was an eye-opening experience up in Monterey on how things actually get done or don't get done up in Sacramento. I was on the Investment Housing Committee, and a lot of interesting things going up in Sacramento as far as change of leadership and vacancies and that sort of thing. That's going to create a little bit of grief. The investment income or investment housing was focusing on basically rental properties. There's not a new issue. It's been predominant up in Northern California for many years, and it's starting to get here, which is what they call hardening of properties. Basically, because of the fires that have spread throughout Northern California and everything that's gone on down here, they are requiring investment properties and in some cases all properties, but this is referring to investment properties, to be fire hardened, which means they can have no combustible materials within 5 feet of the building. The challenge with that is that when you have a tenant who's in charge of their own maintenance, how do we communicate to them exactly what fire hardening means? And the challenge is that CAL FIRE is the predominant decision maker, but also LA County Fire makes up their own decisions, and then regional fires like Downey Fire would make up their own. Although we're not in a fire zone here in Downey. But when we have some of our members out up against the foothills and that sort of thing, so it became problematic. And what they're recommending is to go to the forms committee and requesting that they produce a new form if you have a rental property and you write a lease and the tenant is responsible for any of the maintenance, is that there's a very clear addendum and clear instructions for that particular location, that property in that location, what fire hardening means. And it becomes very vague because, or very challenging because one of the things you can't have within 5 foot of the building is a propane tank or a barbecue or something like that. Those are on wheels. And, if a tenant puts it up against the building, then you can lose your fire insurance or get fined. So it was very interesting, the problem that it creates. And then the recommended action was to go to the forms committee and make it crystal clear to the tenants what they can and cannot do regarding that zero zone, which is a 5 foot perimeter around the building. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We'll now go to Lena Ariza, please.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the regional rep for transaction and regulation, and we had 2 motions that were brought to us, and we did take it up to state directors, and state directors did approve these 2. The first one is we were asked that CAR sponsor legislation to increase the probationary period for real estate fraud convictions for both felony and misdemeanors. So for felony convictions, it will be increased from 2 to 5 years, and for misdemeanors from 1 to 3 years. And the thought process behind this, or the motivation behind this, was they were asking for CAR to set the standards for these probationary periods to align more with the impact of the crimes, of these crimes. So the second motion that was brought and approved was CAR was actually taking the position to support AB 1278, and that's to return the funds from the lost draft accounts back to the borrowers. And again, this stemmed from the Palisades fire, the recent Palisades fire. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have our GAD, Louis Lujan.
Well, thank you. So no action items out of local government I can report on, but I can say that there was some items that were shared in the Government Affairs Director session that we attend. Some of them are informational. I'll just run through them real quick. So one of them is the Dream for All applications are going to open soon. So this is the California Housing Finance Agency's Dream for All shared appreciation loan program. Tons of information on it on the CAR website. But essentially, it's eligible first generation and first time buyers can register for a random selection process that could provide up to 20% of the purchase price. So they wanted us, all of the government affairs directors, to share that. There's a dedicated website for it as well. Second, I can share that the shutdown, we all know by now, has ended. So there's no, at least immediate concern over funding for HUD and other items of importance to the industry. And last but not least, I will share, as you all have probably all heard this by now, but there was a huge victory because of our mobilization efforts on Assembly Bill 1157 that would have once again made rent control much worse than it already is in the state. So because of all of our efforts and lobbying and engagement and mobilization, we defeated it. So those are the 3 items I can share. And with that said, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did I forget anybody? I think we covered everybody. I actually attended the professional development and education forum, and they reached out to directors asking what type of classes we would suggest that they bring onto the CAR website. Most of the suggestions were bringing in AI classes to teach agents how to navigate the AI world, and also HOA and condos. There was some question as to getting more membership to log in and join more classes. Out of 200,000 members, only 18,000 are taking advantage of these free classes. So a lot of them are free. Some of them are certifications, which you pay for. So if you're interested in getting certified or learning something, logging into the classes, please log into store.car.org or to the car.org website. That concludes my report. And does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Seeing nothing else, we thank you for watching this update, and happy Monday. We wish you a productive week and have a great day.
Thank you.